Max's birthday.
It's a funny thing when anybody tells me something just once, I remember it. You're not going to ask. I really don't know. Because if you ask me my grandkid's birthday, I can tell you. My sister's, wow. It just sticks there. I don't know how.
Memory still intact.
Yeah.
Just wait a few years. I know, I do that all the time. But I did it when I was 22, so I'm not doing it. I knew I was on my 2 stage before I got the old, the one that.
I told my grandchildren every 4th of birthday, I'm getting the reminder sooner.
I go by my sheet. Yeah, I have one. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to reference a Tehillim today, which we haven't done in a while. 58.
I hold you to your topic, so that's interesting. Don't
I'm on the topic.
Don't leave it out.
I won't. Well, I told you, I'll earn the apple pie. I'll earn it. Okay, I got it. No, yeah. No, you're not taking it back. Okay. Okay, it's the last parasha in the book of Bereshit. It's a sad moment because Bereshit is my favorite. Yosef HaSadiq, now the whole family is in Egypt. We have kind of a happy ending. And now Yaakov is sick. So Yosef goes to visit Yaakov. Vayitchazek Yisrael vayeshev al mitah. When Yosef goes to visit him, Yitchazek Yisrael, he becomes strong because of the visit, and he sits on the bed. Instead of laying on the bed, now he sits up. There's a little nugget. I told you last week after the class, the Gemara says, if you visit a sick person, you deduct from the person's sickness, how much? Remember? 1/60th. The Gemara says, Bikur Holim, you go in there, the guy or the gal, whoever it is now 1/60th less sick because you went to visit them. Remember last week I said, it doesn't mean that you can go with 60, but I know what you're thinking. You don't get a whole group of 60 people and make the guy better. Like, no. Because it's not a group of 60 people because each person gets to take away 1/60th of the remainder. So it's not from the principal. So unfortunately, sometimes math is very cruel. Vayitchazek Yisrael got strong. Vayeshev al mitah, and he sat on the mitah. What's the gematria of hamitah? Hamitah is 59. He was able to sit on the bed because now he only had 59. He lost a 60th because Yosef visited him. There's a little hint to this in the pasuk. He sat on the bed because he's on the hamitah 59. And then we all know what happens. Efraim and Menashe goes like this. He puts his right hand on Efraim and the left hand on Menashe. Yosef says, "Hey, Abba, what are you doing? You're making a mistake." "No, yadati b'ni yadati. I know exactly what I'm doing." And so what's going on here with the story? And so what's the best Pashup shot you have for this story? What's going on here? Yosef thinks he's making a mistake. Yaakov is making a mistake. Yosef's making a mistake. Do we have a Pashup, just a basic understanding of what the whole argument was about with these kids? Yeah, so the basic understanding, the easiest way to explain this story, what's going on here? Why is Yosef fixing his arms? Why is he crossing his arms? Right? The basic understanding is very simple. The right person, the right side always gets the more hashuv, the most important. And so now, Yaakov has these 2 kids in front of him. Yosef brings the 2 kids in front of Yaakov. And Yosef sees that he switches his hands and he puts his right hand now on the left side. And he's thinking to himself, now why would he do that? Why would he do that? So Yosef's thinking to himself, oh, maybe he's thinking that I put the right kid on my right side. And since I'm across from him, that'll make the most important kid on his left side. And he doesn't realize that I actually set it up for him. And so I have the best kid on his right side, which is my left side. And so it's a whole mind game of where the Bechor is. You got me? One more time? It's a, yeah, no, it's not a dyslexic. So that's why he's crossing his hands. But it's got to be deeper than that. What are they arguing about? Yosef and Yaakov are not just two regular guys. They're our forefathers. What are they arguing about? Must be Yosef believed that Menashe, his firstborn, was really the primary one, the better one. And Yaakov must have really believed there's something about the younger one that's better. And they argued not just over semantics, they argued over a shita, a halachic opinion, a real opinion about how to value a child. They had different value systems for the children. And so the Lubavitcher Rebbe is the one who really opens this up. And he says, explain to me what their disagreement was about. Why did Yosef value Menashe more? And why did Yaakov value Efraim more? Because otherwise you're going to say, what, Yosef made a mistake? Yaakov made a mistake? They have to be deeper than that. Another question he asked is, what does Yaakov say? He says, Yosef, these two kids, Efraim and Menashe, these two kids, they're mine. Just like Reuven and Shimon. But if you look at the words he says, now your two sons, that were born to you in Egypt, until I came here, lihem, they're mine. They're just like Reuven and Shimon. This is what Grandpa Yaakov tells. And so again, he says, your two kids, they're mine, which means we know the two kids became two tribes in Israel. Yaakov had 12 sons. We have 12 tribes, right? 12 sons he had. Levi became priests. And so Levi doesn't have a share in the everyday stuff. So -1. Now he's down to 11. And then he has a Menashe and Efraim. He's back to 12. So Yosef is substituted for Menashe and Efraim. So take away Yosef and take away Levi from the 12, you have 10. Add Menashe and Efraim, you have 12. We're back to 12. Yosef, I think we said this last year, Yosef became the firstborn. The firstborn right, the first right was taken away from Reuven. It's a pasuk straight out in Chronicles. In Divrei Yamim, it says straight out, Yaakov took the firstborn rights from Reuven and he gave them to Yosef. Yosef was his firstborn son. And so therefore he had two shares because a firstborn has double shares. If you have, let's say, 3 brothers and there's an inheritance, the father passes away. How many shares do you have to split the estate into? 4 shares. So you can give the firstborn 2 and everyone else gets 1. Yosef got an extra share. Why does Yaakov have to give him a whole story? Your 2 sons that you had when you were in Egypt, before I got here, they're mine. Are you just like you're describing my 2 sons? Where are my sons that I didn't have in Egypt? Like, well, I know my 2 sons I had in Egypt. Just say, your 2 sons are mine. What is this whole thing? Your 2 sons that you had in Egypt before I got here, they're mine. What is the extra stuff? What is he saying with that? Another question is, why do we care about this whole story, about the mix-up? Who cares about the mix-up? Why did you have to say, why does the Torah have to tell us that he twisted his hands? Yosef didn't like what he did. He said, Dad, fix it. And he said, no, I know what I'm doing. We don't need this whole thing. What is the lesson for us? This is a very popular Devar Torah that everyone always says, that the younger kid didn't have, he was on top, and the older kid didn't have bad feelings about him. They got along, and therefore everyone should get along. Yeah, that's the basic Devar Torah. Just tell us that. Yaakov put his right hand on Efraim, and Menashe didn't care. That's the lesson we need. Why do we need this whole backstory of, hey, Dad, you twisted your hands? No, I know what I'm doing. That whole part, what do we get from that? Who cares? The point that matters is he put his right hand on the younger son. That's the lesson we get. Do we need to know every little story that happens between them? And one last question is also a well-known gematria. Vayechi Yaakov. Yaakov lived with Yosef in Egypt for 17 years, and Yosef was with him in the beginning of his life for 17 years. So he had bookends to his life, 17 in the beginning, 17 in the end, 17 and 17, 34. Vayechi Yaakov. Yaakov lived. The gematria Vayechi is 34. Because his only living was when we had his son Yosef. Without Yosef, no life. So you want to know how long I lived? I lived 34 years. 17 with him and 17 with him. Hajj, I said. No, sorry, the Syrian stuff, it comes out sometimes. I don't, must speak. Okay? I don't know the Yiddish word for Hajj. What's the Yiddish word for Hajj? How do you, in Yiddish, if someone's saying enough, how do you say that? Who? Genuk. Genuk. 17 and 17, Genuk. Why? Really? There's no life outside of Yosef? I mean, it's devastating. No one should ever lose a child. But there's no life outside of Yosef? Really? Like legit? There's only 34 years in his life? And so the Lubavitch Rebbe explains, is we have to understand what Yaakov is all about. Yaakov is the one who brings Abraham and Yitzhak's lessons down into this world. Judaism is down here on earth. They started a beautiful religion like angels. Yaakov is the one that says, this stuff works anywhere you go, anytime you live in. This is what Judaism is all about. We're the most adaptable, flexible. We apply everywhere. You could be a Jew anywhere. You don't even need a rabbi. You could do anything you want. Two guys, you can marry someone, learn how to give a bri, learn how to be a shochet. It's the most empowering religion in the world. You could do anything you want. And any place you want, at any time you want. Yaakov is the one whose job is to bring it down. He went into Lavan's house. He went into the rough and tough neighborhood. He had to battle with Esav. No one else had to do that. You don't find Yitzhak battling with Ishmael. And what is he living for? He's living for this. He says, guys, we're going to go out there and it's going to be rough. And we're still doing it now. And I want to show you that it's all about wherever you go, you can keep this family tradition of Abraham. We are a family. My kids always ask me, was Abraham a Jew? Was Yehuda a Jew? There was no such thing as a Jew. We are a family. That's what we are. Judaism is a family. Abraham and Yaakov, it's passing down the family tradition. That's what we're doing. Yosef, he's the one who took the mantle from him and took it even further. Of all his kids, Yosef is the one who said, I'm going to be exactly like you. I'm going to go down. Nothing's going to get me no matter where I go. I'm going to be Superman. I'm going to Egypt. Watch me. Levi, angel. The other Shivatim, you see, Yehuda went down. He had a struggle, Yehuda. The second he left the brothers, he's with the daughter-in-law. He thought she's a prostitute. Shimon and Levi getting into fights. Yosef goes down. Ish Matzliach. No matter where he goes, this guy is on his game. He takes after his father. And that, no wonder he loved him so much. No wonder he favored Yosef. Yosef was a rock star. He was by far the most talented of all the sons. Rabbi Miller says it straight out. He was the most talented kid. He was exactly his father. And more. He became the viceroy of Egypt. That's what Yaakov cares about. The Lubavitch Rebbe says, it's a very interesting thought. He says, there are three levels into going out into this world, the world that we live in, and remaining Jewish, remaining faithful. The first level is like defense. It's called not drowning. Protecting your neshama. Say, I'm going to go in this field. I'm going to go to work. I'm surrounded by, let's say, non-Jews all day long. I'm going to maintain. I'm going to still stay who I am. That's a great thing. It's not playing offense. I'm not trying to make anyone there any better. I'm just trying to not die really spiritually, which is great. Very good not to die spiritually. Sometimes I've been in colleges, the only Jew in class. I was in college for many years. It took me a long time. I had kids. I graduated when I had 4 kids. Not easy. I was there for a year. The only Jew in class. All the rest of my classmates is these girls in pajamas, basically. The whole college experience is girls in pajamas. They come to class in pajamas. That's what they do. And I'm sitting there with a kippah on my head, saying, I'm the only Jew here. How am I supposed to remain who I am? So a lot of it is playing defense. I am who I am. Was I improving? I don't know if I was on a daily basis working on upping my religious game. I'm just trying to not die spiritually. It's a level. Level 1, don't die spiritually. Level 2, bring your offense. Be who you are, no matter what. Bring your light. Shine it. Overpower them. Overpower the darkness. They're all around you. You have a family. You have children. They're all around you. Let's overpower it. They're going to do Xmas. We're going to have the craziest Hanukkah party ever. We're going to just overdo it. Decorations, we're going to overpower the darkness. That's good. You're playing offense now. You're improving. Step 3, let's go into the darkness and see if we can get some recruits and improve the people in the dark. Can we light up the actual darkness? Not overpower the darkness, light the darkness up. Improve wherever we are. I'll give you an example in a second. And so the Lubavitch Rebbe says, look at Yaakov. Yaakov is a shelter. Wherever he went, he was who he was. He never died spiritually. Yosef, he went down to Egypt. Step 2, I'm bringing it into Egypt. Yaakov was a shelter back home. He went to Laban's house. He didn't stay there. He went back home. Yosef is step 2. I'm going into Egypt, and I'm going to shine my light so hard, I'm going to completely overpower these guys. I'm going to outshine everybody. And that's what he did. He just took over. Everyone was in awe of this kid. He was amazing. Menashe, Yosef's first son, was just like his dad. Menashe, the firstborn, exactly like his dad. He was actually helping his dad in the castle. Menashe, we find, was the translator, right? Who was translating between the brothers when they came? And Yosef. Menashe worked for his father as the translator. So obviously Menashe, he spoke Hebrew and he spoke Egyptian. Otherwise, how could he be a translator? Yosef pretended he didn't know Hebrew, right? So Menashe, exactly like his dad. Spitting image of his dad. Look at Menashe's name. Menashe was named after the father's household. Hinashani Elohim be'eretz oni, bet avi. Hashem made me forget my father's house. So Menashe, every time he saw Menashe, he said, Menashe, your identity, your name is about forgetting Abba's house. Menashe was all about holding on to the old way. Efraim, ki Efrani Elohim be'eretz oni. The second kid, Efraim. Efrani means I flourished. Yosef's second kid was named Efraim because I flourished inside the bad land. That's a new level. Ephraim would be level 3. Yaakov, level 1. Staying who you are. Yosef, level 2. Bringing the light and completely overpowering everyone with the light. Doing your thing. Level 2. Menashe, just like his dad. Ephraim, level 3. Ephraim, you're flourishing inside the darkness. You're bringing up Egypt. You're succeeding in Egypt. You're not having this little shelter, this little home base that saves you. That's level 3. If Ephraim can do it, anyone can do it. And so if you're Yaakov, Yaakov's agenda in his life is to make sure his children, no matter where they go, they're going to flourish. No matter what land and time they go to, they're going to flourish. What's the epitome of success in Yaakov's eyes? Ephraim is the epitome of success. He has no attachments to the old way at all. His name doesn't mean anything about the old way. His name is Ephraim. He flourished here. He signifies flourishing inside the darkness. That's success. That's what I'm shooting for my entire life. And so now we can understand Yosef. He loved Menashe because Menashe is exactly like him. He's in politics. He's smooth. He speaks both sides. Ephraim is the kid that's in America. He has an American name. You don't find him translating the Lashon HaKodesh into Egyptian. Ephraim is the kid. He's not even in the palace. He's out there. And he's religious. And he's succeeding, not only religious and saved, he's flourishing. That's us. That's the end game. Yaakov says, who do I love the most? The kid who's the deepest down into the darkness and still succeeding. That kid I love. That's what I'm all about. And so now we see Yosef says, I love Menashe because he represents what I'm all about. And Yaakov says, yeah, but I love Ephraim because he represents what I'm all about. Going as far deep into the muck as you can go and still being successful. The way that I can explain this best, with my own example, not the Lubavitch Rebbe's example, my own example, is if you think about us, we all come from different countries. It's either our grandparents or our great-grandparents. Maybe some people here, the parents, I don't think so. Anybody here's parents from the old country? You yourself? Okay, so buckle up. You're going to be our example. Oh, yeah. I'm still getting my apple pie when this is done. Level one. Level one is the people who come from the old country. They come from Europe. They know the Slobodka, the great yeshivas. They come from Arabic countries. My family's from Syria. We have Iraq. We have Turkey. They come from amazing hubs of community of Judaism. Level one, fresh generation. They come to America. Are they American? They're not American. They don't even speak English. They're a Slobodkin, a German living in America. The old timers who come here, the first generation, they are not American. They do nothing American. They push back at anything American. As in Syria, the old people say, this is our way. This is not our way. We have our way and not our way. Right? They're still stuck in their ways. They're not conforming to America. My great-grandma was not American. She happened to live in America. She's Halabi. She's Aleppo. Through and through. You look at her, you're basically in Syria in her house. Right? And I'm sure you have people from Germany. You go to your grandma's house, you're in Germany. Welcome to the embassy. You're in Germany. They're not American. But you know what they're doing? Level one. They have a little home base, a little shelter, like Yaakov. No matter what happens, they're oblivious to it all. I had my grandpa, hey, grandpa, you see what's going on with TikTok? And what TikTok? What TikTok? They don't care. They're not even here. Get out of here, right? They're not even here. Level two. Level two is the bridge generation. Second generation, your parents came over from the old country. Now you have both. You're Menashe. You're working in the palace. You can translate. You speak Lashon HaKodesh. You still speak Yiddish. You speak Arabic. I also speak English. I got both sides of the thing. I'm copying mom and dad. I'm trying my best to stay like them, live in here, not get hurt, maybe try to raise a family and grow. Level two, that's Yosef. That's Menashe. Level three, Efraim. Level three is my name growing up and now is Max. Not Mordechai, not Murad, like my great-grandfather family members, Murad. Max. Level three is your name is Max. You speak English and no Arabic, basically. Welcome to, you are American. You follow the sports. I used to watch movies. You're in the whole scene here. What are you doing now? You're not connected. When I look at you, me, maybe the way I speak, before I open my mouth, you don't see Syria, you look at me. Right? I don't see Syria when I look at you. I don't see Germany when I look at someone. So you're not connected to the old ways. Your name has nothing to do with the old ways. This is Efraim. You're still from. You're still religious. You're flourishing. You're building a family. And you're so American. Right? Your grandparents would be mortified. You're so American. Yeah, you have this thing, Amazon, you say, Alexa, what time is it? What is this? Yeah, you're so American. And you're flourishing. That's Efraim. Yaakov Avinu would be so proud. This is what I live for. No matter how deep in the muck these people get and removed from the home base, they flourish. Yaakov says to Yosef, bring me the boys. He brings the boys. Yosef says, Menashe is the guy. Look how connected to the old way he is. He's still speaking the language. He's got the whole thing. Yaakov says, hold on, give me this guy. What's your name? Ephraim, because I flourish in this land. Your name is Ephraim. What kind of name is Ephraim? I'll take this one. This is what I'm here for. This is going to make me win the game in the end. This is his whole life. Vayechi Yaakov, why was his life only a life for the 34 years? This is what he lived for. If I'm not living with Yosef, the guy who's bringing this thing forward, moving the football down the field, then I'm not living. Just living in Kolel all day long, it doesn't do anything for me. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, at the end of this talk, it's a bunch of pages. At the end of it, he writes at the end, he says, therefore us, we have to make sure, it's a very Chabad message, if you think about it. He says, we have to make sure not only to be Menashes, to be safe in a little Noah's Ark, safe from the outside. He says, you have to also be Efraim. You got to go out there. And you got to elevate the darkness around you. You got to build here. This is where we are. We're in America. Go out there, improve people's lives. Don't just be safe. And the word he uses, he says, he says, asur. It's asur. It's forbidden for you to only save yourself. This is what he says in this end of this talk. It's forbidden for you to only save yourself and hide in your religion and not care about anything else that's going around you in the country. Efraim means we flourish out here. And so there's someone that walks into shul, they have nothing. There's a phone and a wallet in their pocket on Shabbat. A guy walks in shul for a Brit Milah, which is very soon, and I look at the guy, and does this guy ever put on tefillin? I'm not a Chabadnik. Does this guy ever put on tefillin? Tefillin belongs to all of us. It's all of ours. It's not only Chabad. Go over to the guy. I do it all the time. Hey, you want to put tefillin on? Okay. Take mine. Take my tefillin. You know how many people watch me do this and they don't copy me? I'm not saying I'm the best. Trust me, I'm far from the best. I look at the guy. Why don't you take off your tefillin off your head? Give it to the other guy. No. He has to have his tefillin. I'm take off my tefillin before I'll lean the Shabbat. I gotta be a Sadiq. What are you talking about? This is not Menashe. Be Efraim. Help the people flourish around here. Don't be selfish. And so the goal of Yaakov Avinu is Efraim to flourish. And so now we understand it's not just a game of Twister. You put your hands this way, Dad, I don't like this. And why does it try to tell us the whole story? It's telling us an important lesson. Yosef held, in his point of view, Menashe was the best one. That style of Judaism was the best style. And Yaakov says, you got it wrong. He's good, but his brother's even better. I like the way he goes about his business. His name is Efraim. He's got no connection to me whatsoever. Now, why did he say to Yosef, and now your two sons that were born to you in Egypt before I even got here, they're mine. That's the whole point. Because they're born to you in Egypt before I even got here. They never met me. They have no idea what Yaakov is all about. This whole tradition, they're so removed from me. And they're still religious. They're still observant. That's what it's all about. And so I'm asking every one of us, who do you think Yaakov would be more proud of? The Vilna Gaon or you? You and I. Don't undermine our value. We are Ephraim. So what? We're not as great as the people 500 years ago, 400 years ago were. But they were connected to the old way. We're in America. We're in Los Angeles. We eat burgers, French fries. We're not connected to the old way as much as the old people. And we're still here learning Torah on a Sunday morning. You know how proud Yaakov Avinu would be? He would choose us. If he had to bless people, and you brought the Vilna Gaon, the Ben Ish Hai, and you, according to this, he would take his right hand and he would switch it. He put on our heads. This is Ephraim. What we're doing now is the ultimate goal of the whole game. We're never giving up, and no matter how deep in this crazy country we're getting, we're still observant. And we're not only observant, we're flourishing. And we're going to keep trying to help other people flourish, not to overpower the darkness, to light up the darkness. This is what Yaakov is all about, and it helps us to understand the value of Ephraim. Now, Yaakov Avinu dies. Did Yaakov Avinu die? This is a very well-known thing people say. He never died. Have you ever heard this before? He never died? You know the source for this? Now you do. Let's do the source. I'll read you a couple Gemaras. Very interesting Gemarot. We're going to start with Ta'anit, page 5b. Gemara says in Ta'anit, Rab Rahman and Abi Yitzhak, two rabbis, Habuyat bi bisiudata. They were eating a meal together. Amar le Rab Rahman le Rabbi Yitzhak. Rab Rahman tells Rabbi Yitzhak, hey, lem amar milta. We'll just sit there and say nothing. Give me a good word. Say something. Rab Rahman and Rabbi Yitzhak sitting down. Rab Rahman tells Rabbi Yitzhak, give me a word. Give me a Devar Torah. We're just sitting here eating. Say something. What does he answer him? Famous Gemara. Know this Gemara? What does he answer him? Amar le. Try it next time you're at someone's house. You know those annoying people, father-in-laws, they always ask you for a word. This is the line to say. Amar le. Rabbi Yitzhak answers, Haki amar Rabbi Yohanan. You want a word? I'll give you a word. Rabbi Yohanan, the Rebbe said, En masihin b'siudah. We don't talk while we eat. That's the word. We don't talk while we eat. Why? Shema yakdim kana laveshet. Maybe, God forbid, the windpipe and the food pipe will mix up, and God forbid, someone can choke. It's dangerous. How do you want me to say Devar Torah now? Dangerous. Don't talk while we eat. That's where he answers him. But Saud, after they finished eating, eventually you got to pay up though. After they finished eating, Saud, Amar le, he says, all right, here's your word. He says, Aki Amar Rabbi Yohanan. This is what my Rabbi Yohanan told me. Yaakov Avinu lo met. Yaakov Avinu never died. That's your word. Amar le, he answers him, B'chi b'chdi, Saftu Saftanaya, V'hantu Hantaya, V'kabru Kabraya. What? It says in the Pasuk, they mourned for him, they buried him, they mummified him, embalmed him. So that is the strangest thing. Someone asked me today, what's the story on the embalmment? I said, wrong guy. I don't know the answer. I don't know. Sorry. Next year. So he says, what do you mean he didn't die? It says straight out of the Pasuk. They embalmed him. They buried him. They mourned for him. It seems that he died from the Pasuk. So the report says, if you look at the Pasuk, it doesn't say Vayamot. He died. It says Vayigva. He retired. Vayigva. I guess retired would be the right word. Or withered up. Or expired. Good word. Vayigva, he expired. Vayasif alamav, and he was gathered to his people. It doesn't say Vayamut. It doesn't say he died. You know who else it doesn't say he died for? The Haftarah from yesterday. David HaMelech also. It says he just expired. It doesn't say the word death. That's what the support. Well, a lot of times it says Vayigva Vayamut. A lot of times it says he expired and died. Both. But yeah, it's hak. It just says he expired, like he used up his time almost. But it doesn't say the word he died. And so that's what people say. He must have expired his time on earth, but he's not dead or something. Let's see. And so he asked him a question. How could you tell me Yaakov never died? It says straight up, they embalmed him and all these things. Amaleh, Umikrani Doresh. What do you want from me? I have a pasuk. I don't know about you. You have a good question on the parasha. But I have a pasuk straight out. What is the pasuk? Yaakov. Jeremiah says, don't be scared, my servant Yaakov. He says, you and your children are going to be fine. Your children are alive, so too you're alive. This is his pasuk. He has a pasuk to teach me that Yaakov is alive. He didn't answer him. And so he says another vort. Next vort, he says, Amar Rabbi Yitzhak, Kol ha'omer rahav rahav miyad nikreh. Have you heard this one before? Anyone who says rahav rahav, immediately a man who says rahav rahav. Who's rahav? 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 Rahav was the zonah who was the spies went to Egypt. Yeshua sent 2 spies, and they hid in the woman's. She was a zonah. It's a question what zonah means, either a prostitute or she had a motel. And they went to the roof, and she saved her. She hid them under the straw. Eventually, she ended up marrying Yeshua. Yeshua married her, Rahav, and she was beautiful. Rahav Zonah is one of the 4 most beautiful people ever. Always, the rabbis always go for the. Okay. The Rebbe, by the way, I'm sorry, it was a layup. I had to do it. She's speechless. She's speechless. Huh? The rabbis, they know what they're doing. Okay, yeah. For the first time, it took me a couple of years. I got you. Kol ha'omer, second part, he says. Kol ha'omer rahav rahav miyad nekre. If a man merely says her name twice in a row, he's going to immediately have a semen spill. He's going to be so aroused. Kol ha'omer rahav rahav miyad nekre. Immediately. Can't say her name twice in a row. She was too beautiful. Amaleh, he answers him. So the first vort was a little strange. Yaakov didn't die. The second vort was like a little more strange. Amaleh, he says to him, Ana Amina, I said it. V'lo ichpat li, nothing happened to me. So what are you talking about? Amaleh, he answered him, Ki ka'amina bi'odah o b'makira. I'm talking about when you know her. If you actually know her and you say her name twice, it's going to make you nuts. You got it? Good question. So it's a mahloket. Rashi says know her in the PG rated G version. Tosafot says know her in the rated, I don't even know what the ratings are these days. Reasons. Know her. Good question. And so this is the two words he said. And then they part ways. Now you know the ending of the story because I've read it to you inside. When they leave, he says, give me a blessing. The meal's over. That a very interesting meal. The meal's over. He said, give me a blessing. And then that's where he answered him, how can I bless you? Like the tree, Elon. You know, remember this one? A tree that has such beautiful shade and a tree that's beautiful. How can I bless the tree? You already have everything. I bless you. Your kids should be like you. This is a very famous Elon blessing. Great blessing. What is going on in the story? So many questions in this weird story. Yaakov Avinu didn't die. Rahav miyad nekre. Say Rahav and you're done. And so there's a few questions here. Number one, let's start from the top. Rabbi Rahman, he asked Rabbi Yitzhak, give me a Devar Torah. Rabbi Rahman says, what do you mean? You can't talk during the meal. Rabbi Rahman didn't know that. He didn't know that halakha that you can't talk during a meal. He thought you could talk during a meal. That's why he asked for a Devar Torah. Second question. You answered him during the meal in Masihin betoch ha'seudah. The proper way to be like, He didn't do that. You're answering me, hey, you ever see the guy in shul? No talking in the shul. You just spoke. You answered him in Masihin b'seudah. We don't talk. And he says it proper English too. So says Rabbi Yohanan. We don't talk in the meal. You just use like 9 words. If you really can't talk during the meal, just say, no. Third question is, the word that you really wanted to say so badly was Yaakov Avinu lo met. 4 words. You could have just said it. Yaakov Avinu lo met. It's shorter than telling the guy, I'm not allowed to talk during the meal. Another question is, what brought you to the second thing? Rahav, what made you think about her after Yaakov Avinu? What is the connection? And the last question from the Ben Ish Hai, which is a very obvious question. He said, anyone who says Rahav, in miyad nikre. He says, what do you mean? I said it. Nothing happened to me. He also said it. You just said, Kol ha'omer Rahav, miyad nikre. We both said it. And so what do you say? I said it. Nothing happened to me. He also said it. Nothing happened to him, I assume. Okay. I'll answer the last question first. Ben Ish Hai says the answer to the last question is, it only works if you saw a picture of her. And Ben Ish Hai says, in those days, they used to have images, sculptures to preserve beautiful people or whatever. And they had one, and Rabbi Yitzhak saw one. The person who asked for the vort, he saw a picture of her. And so he tells him, by the way, you probably never even saw her. It's just a name to you. I actually saw her, and I said it, and nothing happened to me. This is Ben Ish Hai's answer. Okay. There's a great answer from the Torah Tamima, Rabbi Epstein. He says, you're allowed to talk in the meal sometimes. Actually, Pirkei Avot says 3 people who ate on a table and didn't say Devar Torah, it's like they ate from a table of dead. You're supposed to say Devar Torah during the meal. You have to be smart. And so there's a lot of commentaries who talk about this. Some people say you talk in between dishes. Some people say you talk in between bites. He held, the Torah Tamina says, that Rabbi, he says, you're allowed to initiate speaking because you know you're chewing. You know what you're doing. You can speak. The problem is, if you say something that's going to make a person respond really quick, you're going to say something so shocking maybe, that'll make someone respond, what? And they're not prepared to speak during a meal, you can endanger them. And so he said the danger is not for the speaker. The danger is for the audience that might be triggered by something that the speaker says. This is how he explains it. And so why did he come up with two wacko, out of this world words? Because he was saying, hey, you can't talk during the meal. Even though talking during the meal is okay for the speaker. But what if I said something crazy? What if I said something you never heard in your life? And it's going to make you say, what? It's going to be dangerous for you. You could choke. And so I'll tell you the two craziest things I have. This is what Torah Tamim says. Number one, Yaakov Avinu didn't die. What? He didn't die? What are you talking about? It says in the Pasuk. I told you, if this would have happened while you were chewing, you would have choked. And the second thing is, anyone who says the hav, immediately, what? I said the hav. I got you again. He says, the Torah Tamim says, I got you again. It's the danger is for you listening because you might react quickly. It's a very cute answer. Halakha Ma'aseh, Shulchan Aruch writes, Maran Shulchan Aruch writes, and Masihin b'toch ha'seudah. We don't talk in the meal. Shulchan Aruch writes. Hacham Ovadia Yosef writes, or his son Chamitzhak writes in Yalkut Yosef, that this only applies in the days where they used to eat leaning down on couches. But these days we sit up while we eat. We don't lean, and it's not dangerous anymore. And so therefore you are allowed to speak during the meal these days. Just be careful, obviously, that you know what you're doing. Seder night, if you're leaning, even for us, Seder night, we're still sitting. We're just like a fake, you just touch the chair next to you and you consider that leaning. But in those days, it was a real thing not to talk. Okay. This is the source. Yaakov Avinu lo met. This is the source for it all. There's another Gemara I'm going to read you now also. I don't have all the answers for you, but I can give you at least knowledge of the background of where this comes from. Okay, so this comes from this little story about the meal. Now there's one more story I'll read to you. One more. This is parts of the story you've heard for sure. I don't think you probably ever heard the whole thing in one shot. So here's the Gemara. Gemara Sotah, page 13a. Gemara Sotah. Now I know that you know parts of this, but I think you'll appreciate hearing the whole thing at one shot. And I'm sure there's some details you didn't know. Ready for this? Gemara says, when they got back, they brought Yaakov to Hebron to bury him in Marat HaMachpelah. Who was standing there saying, no, you can't bury him here? Who did that? Esau, right? Comes from this Gemara. Gemara Sotah 13a says, Esau was there, and Esau said, Ata Esau, kame akev. Esau said, no, halt. Don't bury Yaakov in Marat HaMachpelah. No. Amar lahen, mamre kidyat ha'aba in Hebron. There's only 4 couples that can be fit in Marat HaMachpelah. It's very tight. Only 4 couples, which means there's only 8 graves in this cave. And how many of them are used up already? That's 4. That's 6. And then, so 7. So Esau says, hold on. There's 8 plots in this cave. 7 of the 8 are already used. If you bury Yaakov, close it up. It's all gone. So hold on. Don't bury it yet. Ihu kavra le'ah bedideh. He used his share for Leah. We're brothers. Yaakov, Esau says, me and him were twin brothers. There's only 2 plots of graves left. One goes to me and one goes to him. He used his for Leah. Sorry. I want to use the last one for me. That's what Esau says. Now, I find this very ironic. Why was Leah crying? Remember Leah was crying in the beginning? Because everyone said Leah's going to marry Esau. I don't want to be with Esau. Now, pretty ironic. Esau said, I want to be buried next to Esau, to Leah for all eternity. Yeah, Leah, you used yours. Sorry, I'm going to be buried next to her. What do you want to be buried with your sister-in-law for? It's weird. Maybe like deep inside, Esau was trying to still make like that mistake never happened. And so he says, sorry, buddy. He used his share on his wife. There's only one left. It's for me. Amruleh, they told him, Zabinta, you sold him the firstborn right. So he gets the firstborn right, which is double share. It goes to Yaakov. So Esav says, now, when we look at the story, do we think of Esav as like a big, bad bandit? Did he have logic? Actually, there was a lot of logic to Esav's argument. I'm going to show you. Esav had a logic. It makes a lot of sense why he should get the grave. Can you figure out why? I'll show you why. Amar lehu, he tells them, Nehi dezabini bechurta. Yes, I sold the firstborn right. Peshituta mizabini, but I didn't sell all the rights of a normal child. What's he saying here? The Maharsha opens up a whole interesting thing. Ready for math? Who wants to do math at 10 o'clock in the morning? Ready for fractions? Check this out. What did we say before? A firstborn gets what portion of the estate? Double portion. And so if you have 3 brothers, how many shares do you need? 4 shares. 2 for the firstborn, 1 for everyone else. Let's do some math. 2 plots of land, 2 graves, 2 brothers. One's a Bechor. Esav says, I agree he's the Bechor. I'm still a brother. I get a normal brother's share. Let him get double. But there's only 2. How could you do that? There's only 2. If there were 3 graves, you can give him 2 and give me 1. But there's only 2 graves. We can't do the whole double thing on this one. You give him both, I get nothing. That's not true. That's not a fair law. He's supposed to get double what I get. If I get 0, 2 times 0 is 0. Yeah. And so Esav says, that's not fair. It should be mine. But why should it be yours then? That whole mathematical argument. All right, Esav, why should it be yours then? If you get it, then he's even to you. He's supposed to have double you. 1 and 1 is not double. Says the Maharsha something so interesting. Let's try to split these 2 graves into 3 shares so that one gets a double portion. You can't split 2 into 3, which is why you need fractions. I tell my kids all the time, you need fractions. It's going to come into life one day. Let's do fractions. How do you split 2 graves into 3 shares? You have to split each grave into, I tell my wife, who's the principal, to bring this to the classroom. You have to split if you split each grave into 2 shares, how many shares total you have? 4. He already buried Leah in 1 grave, that's 2. If you give Esau half of the other grave, and Yaakov half of it, that works? No. Leah already was 2 out of 4. If Yaakov gets a half of the remaining one, that's 3 out of 4. Esau has 1 out of 4. 3 out of 4 is 3 times 1 out of 4, not double. You have to split each grave into 3. If you split each grave into 3 shares, now you have 6 total shares. Leah was buried in 1, that's 3 shares. How many shares of the remaining one does Yaakov get?
3 shares.
And what? And how many of the remaining one? How many shares of the remaining one does Yaakov get? No, then he would have 5 out of 6. You split each one into 3, that's 6 total shares. If he gets 1 share of the remaining one, he had 3 for Leah already used. He gets 1 of the remaining one, now he has 4. 4 out of 6. And Esav has 2 out of 6. 4 out of 6 is double, 2 out of 6. Perfect. The only problem is this. If you split the 1 into 3 and give Yaakov 1 share, Esav now has 2 shares. 2 out of 3, that's 66%. Esav says 66.6% of that grave is mine. That's called majority. Maharsha. You got it? The only way you can even, so therefore, I get the whole thing. Now, at the end of the story, we know that Esav's head is buried in there with Yaakov. This could be a reason why they have to share it. Because from the laws of Bechorah, he doesn't get 100%. He has to get 2 double portion. That's 4 out of 6 shares. Yaakov owns 33% of the remaining grave. He ended up getting more. But Esav it wasn't stupid. Esav had a claim. And so he said, according to the laws of Bechorah, I still have 66% of this grave. Sorry. And now what? That's why we come to the Naphtali story. They say, no, besides for the firstborn right, you sold this outright to our father. It was a different sale. He bought it outright from you in a different sale. Ah, really? Show me the papers. Now everything you hear as a kid is going to make sense on a deeper adult level. We always know as a kid the basic story. Esav said, no, you can't bury. Show me the sale, the deed. And Naphtali ran like a deer. What was behind it? This is what was behind it. He said, from the firstborn right, that deal we made for the red beans, nah, that's not enough. 66% still mine. No, it's a different sale. Different sale? It requires different paperwork. Show me the separate second sale. And so they sent Naphtali. And so the Chtiv, Amalehu, Habuli Igata, bring me the star, bring me the document. They said, what do you mean? Igata be'adam Efraim, it's in Egypt. Go get it. Uman Nezil, who's going to go? Nezil Naphtali. Let Naphtali go, who's swift like a deer. Now Naphtali is going. What happens next is the part all the kids know. Hushim Berede Dan. Hushim, the son of Dan. Haman Hava, he was over there. V'yakiral udne, and he had ears which were heavy. He had hard of hearing. Couldn't hear. Amalihu, he tells everyone, my hi, what's going on here? What's the whole ruckus? Ve'amrule, they said, Kame akev hi ad ate Naphtali me'adam Efraim. This guy, Uncle Esav, he stopped the whole funeral procession until he gets a document of a separate sale for the grave. Amalihu ve'ad ate Naphtali me'adam Efraim. Until he gets all the way back from Egypt. We're going to let Abba sit there in disgrace, lying there on the floor. Shakal Kulfa, he took a big stick, Mahye Areshe, and he hit him on his head. He hit Esav on the head. And what happened? So that's not what the Gemara says. The Gemara says, it's even weirder what the Gemara says, I'll tell you the truth. Natran ene v'naflu akar'e de Yaakov. Esav's eyes popped out of his head from the hit and rolled and landed on the legs of Yaakov. Irony, because in the beginning, Yaakov was holding on to his legs, and now his eyeballs is on Yaakov's legs. If you think that's the weirdest part of the story, you're in for a treat, because it gets even weirder. What do you expect by now? How long are we doing this? Stay here after this line. Don't leave. Yaakov opened his eyes and smiled. It's straight out of the Gemara. Yaakov opened his eyes and smiled. Why? Irony. That's irony right there. After all this, his little eyeballs rolling onto my legs. This is what it says in the. I said we're gonna have a little Tehillim. This is what it says in chapter 58, I think. Yeah. This is what it says. Yeah, in 58. I won't read you the whole thing because I want to let you guys go. You can look it up later. Chapter 58 of Tehillim. It's about. I'll read you two pesukim only. It's about this, not on the pshat, but according to the Gemara. It says over here. Af belev zoru reshaim merachim. The Rasha was off the path from the womb. Esav. Ta'umi beten dovre chazav. The liar was wandering off from even when he was in the belly. Hamat lamo kedbut hamat nahash. He was like a snake. Peresh yatem ozno. The deaf one closed his ears, couldn't hear anything. Hoshim. This is Tehillim 58. And then Asher lo yishma lekom hashim. He couldn't hear the whispering. Obed habarim mehukam, and then Elohim harash shinim of befimo, and then I'll skip to the end. Yismach Sadiq ki hazanakam. The Sadiq was happy because he saw revenge. He saw vengeance. This is talking about Yaakov smiling at the end. Weird story. Do I have all the answers for you right now? No. But I can tell you at least this is the source of it all. So there's two Gemaras, Ta'anit, by the meal, and this one here. What does it mean Yaakov Avinu didn't die? There's a lot of different opinions. One opinion is Rashi's opinion, that it means exactly what it says. Rashi says he did not die. Or Dano Behaim is still alive. What does that mean? There's another opinion that says his body died, but his nefesh is still hanging around, because this is also, within each one of these things, there's a lot of opinions, but I'm going to make it very simple. There are many people who say that the nefesh, when a person passes away, we have shiva. Lo aleinu, should never happen to anyone of us. Shiva, it says the nefesh, sometimes the nefesh is hanging around from the person and staying there for a week. There's other sources in the Zohar that says even by the grave site, there might be a piece remaining, depending on how holy the person was. The holier the person, according to one source that I saw, the more that a spark of the neshama, of the nefesh, is still staying down there by the grave site. Okay, it's deep stuff. Some people say Yaakov Avinu, his soul is always down there by his body. So he departed from his body, but his soul is always remaining. What does this mean? I don't have all the answers. I wanted to give you the source for it all. And I wanted to read you the Gemara word for word. Let's wrap it up. I'm leaving you hanging. We can try to finish this next year about the whole Yaakov thing. But Yaakov is winking when he's lying on the floor and smiling. The main lesson for today is not really this. The main lesson is the first lesson, the lesson of Efraim. We may think we are just completely unconnected. We're lost. We're the final generation. Everything's going to garbage. Because look at us. We're so Americanized. We have apple pie in the shul. Thank God. It couldn't be a strudel, apple strudel. No, I'm joking. No, I love apple pie. Thank you very much. I'm gonna eat it. But we're so removed. We say, look at us. We're so removed. Our grandparents, our great grandparents, the rabbis, the Rebbitzins of old, Moshe Rabbeinu. What do we have to do with Moshe Rabbeinu? The answer is, who would Hashem be more proud of? Who would Yaakov be more proud of? Who would he put his right hand on right now and say, this is what I love? It wouldn't be the greats. It would be us who stand on the shoulders of the greats, because we're down here in America doing work. We're working hard to save every soul. As Lavav Rebbe said, asur to be selfish. We shouldn't be selfish and say, it's good to protect a little bubble for our family. Yes, I do it. Protect the bubble and save your family. Protect them from all the craziness from the outside world. But it comes a time all of us have to get out there and try to light up the people around us. People need our help. And so we can't be selfish. We can't be just Menashe, which is good. We have to also be Efraim. That's the main lesson of this week that I want to share with you. Also, we have to be Efraim. Get out there and light up the darkness. Have a great week.
Efraim, Egyptian name or Hebrew name?
Well, the